Imagine you are an Iranian naval commander standing on the bridge of a small, outdated corvette in the Strait of Hormuz. You have just been told to close the most important oil artery in the entire world. You think you have the upper hand because you have a few hundred sea mines and some Russian-made missiles. But what you don't realize is that the sky above you is already filled with ghosts that have teeth. You are about to learn the most expensive lesson in the history of maritime warfare. On February 28, 2026, the leadership in Tehran decided to test the patience of the United States. They thought the world would tremble when they announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. They thought the global economy would crumble and the Americans would stay home to avoid a fight. They were wrong. And the response was something the world has never seen before. It was called Operation Epic Fury, and it began with the most violent 12 hours in modern history. Before the Iranian leadership could even finish their morning coffee, 900 airstrikes rained down on their heads. Nuclear facilities, missile silos, and command bunkers were erased from the map in a single afternoon. Even Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei found out the hard way that nowhere is safe from a JDAM. He was neutralized in the very first wave of the attack, leaving his military leaderless and confused. While the Iranian military was reeling from the loss of their leader, the U.S. Navy was just getting started. The USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Spruance moved into position like massive steel predators. These are not just ships, they are floating fortresses worth billions of dollars each. The USS Abraham Lincoln alone carries a price tag of over $6 billion and a full wing of F-35C Lightning IIs. Compare that to the Iranian Navy, which mostly consists of fast boats and corvettes that belong in a museum. An Iranian corvette trying to fight a U.S. carrier strike group is like a toddler trying to box a silverback gorilla. Their radar systems are so outdated they might as well be using a kitchen microwave to track incoming missiles. They rely on old Chinese technology that the U.S. Air Force figured out how to jam back in the 90s. While the Iranians are staring at fuzzy screens, the U.S. Navy is using thermal imaging and satellite data to see everything. By April 13, the United States decided that simply winning the air war wasn't enough. They established a unilateral naval blockade that completely choked off every Iranian port. President Trump didn't just want to stop the war, he wanted to make it profitable for the American taxpayer. During a rally in Florida, he described the Navy's new operations as in the most disrespectful way possible. He said, "We land on top of the ship, we take the oil, and we take the cargo." He literally called the U.S. Navy pirates, and the crowd in Florida went absolutely wild. Think about that for a second. The world's most powerful military is now treating the Iranian merchant fleet like a buffet. Under this blockade, the Navy has already redirected over 40 vessels carrying oil and contraband. They don't ask for permission. They just land SEAL teams on the deck and take control. The Pentagon estimates this little pirate operation has cost Iran $4.8 billion in less than 3 weeks. That is more than the entire annual budget of some small countries, gone in 21 days. While the Iranians were busy losing billions, the American public was dealing with its own side effects of the war. On May 2, 2026, Spirit Airlines officially collapsed and ceased all operations. They were the first major corporate casualty of the fuel shock caused by the closure of the strait. Jet fuel prices jumped from $2 to over $4.50 a gallon almost overnight. Spirit was already on thin ice, but this fuel surge was the final sledgehammer to their business. Thousands of passengers were left stranded in places like Orlando and Las Vegas with nowhere to go. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tried to organize a bailout, but the creditors weren't interested in a bad deal. Ken Griffin's Citadel refused the terms, and the airline was liquidated right before our eyes. But don't worry about the stranded travelers. Other carriers are already offering rescue fares to get them home. Back in the halls of power, The legal battle over this war is getting just as heated as the fighting. The 60-day deadline for the war powers resolution expired on May 1. Under normal rules, the president would need congressional approval to keep the fight going. But Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth came up with a strategy that left the lawyers in D.C. speechless. He argued that because of the April 8 ceasefire in Islamabad, the 60-day clock has been paused. Even though the Navy is still out there seizing ships, the administration says the hostilities have technically terminated. It is a legal flex that is just as aggressive as the blockade itself. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and other critics are calling it state-sponsored piracy and a violation of international law. But the administration doesn't seem to care about the critics while they are busy winning. The Iranians tried to offer a three-step peace plan through mediators in Pakistan. They wanted to reopen the Strait of Hormuz if the US would just lift the blockade. President Trump looked at the deal and basically told them to pound sand. He said, Iran has not yet paid a big enough price for their arrogance. He even threatened to blast the hell out of them if they didn't come back with something better. This is the reality of modern American power. We don't just win the fight, we own the aftermath. The Iranian pilots, who are still brave enough to take off, are finding themselves in a nightmare. They fly their outdated jets into the sky, only to find an F-22 Raptor sitting right on their wing. The US pilots aren't even firing missiles anymore. They are just messing with the Iranians for fun. Imagine looking out your cockpit window and seeing a $100 million stealth fighter flying upside down above you. It is the ultimate psychological dominance, and it leaves the enemy feeling completely helpless. The Iranian commanders have to go back to their bases and explain why they couldn't do anything to stop it. They have to tell their superiors that the Americans are taking their oil and there is no way to fight back. Every time an Iranian ship tries to break the blockade, it ends with a US boarding party taking over. The smell of salt air and high-grade diesel fuel fills the air as the cargo is seized. This isn't just a military operation. It is a total economic and psychological dismantling of a nation. While some people are protesting in Washington, the reality on the ground is clear. The US military technology and training are so far ahead that the contest is already over. We are watching a superpower operate at the peak of its capabilities, and it is a terrifying sight to behold. From the 900 airstrikes of Operation Epic Fury to the pirate-style seizures in the Gulf, the message is the same. You do not mess with the United States of America unless you want to lose everything. The fuel prices might be high, and the airlines might be failing, but the dominance remains absolute. Iran thought they could hold the world hostage, but they ended up becoming the victims of their own plan. Now they are sitting at the negotiating table in Islamabad with absolutely no leverage left. They are watching their wealth disappear into American pockets while their military sits in ruins. This is what happens when a regional power forgets who really runs the world's oceans. The US Navy is patrolling the Strait of Hormuz like they own the place, because they do. Every barrel of oil they seize is a reminder that the price of arrogance is very, very high. Whether it is Pete Hegseth pausing the clock or Donald Trump calling for more pressure, the goal is the same: total victory and total humiliation for anyone who dares to stand in the way of American interests. The world is watching a masterclass in geopolitical dominance and military executions. As the blockade continues, the Iranian economy will continue to bleed until there is nothing left. This is why you don't mess with the United States Navy or the Air Force. They will outthink you, outspend you, and then they will take your cargo just to prove a point. So, what do you think about the Navy's new pirate-style tactics in the Strait? Should the US keep seizing Iranian oil to fund the war effort, or is it going too far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more updates on Operation Epic Fury and the future of of global dominance. This is military doctrine, and we will see you in the next one.